the sellers are not really that active. Looks to me like buyers are still relatively active. And as I had said there a moment ago, OBV just looks beautiful here. And that's exactly what you want to see out of OBV. So somebody is clearly accumulating the shit out of this thing. So little old ladies, you got the green light to accumulate. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Considering this is 23, we're not into the bull market yet. So could we still see some exploration against these lows, flush out some weak hands? Absolutely. That wouldn't surprise me at all. FISUSDT. I guess that's this bad boy. Keep in mind, I still think that there is a war that will be waged against Binance and against Tethers. I think it's coming this fall. I think that's actually probably the catalyst that will sort of drive that markets like to bottom 6 months ahead of the Bitcoin halving event. I think that's actually going to be the catalyst that drives the selling this fall. So just be forewarned, everybody. It doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin or Binance is going out of business. I do believe that there is going to be a showdown here. And I think that's the catalyst that they're building towards. Because you notice that ETF, now Mr. Fink, he can actually point all his media people and say, well, we want to do an ETF. We want to be Bitcoiners. But as the SEC pointed out, Binance and Tether are totally criminally corrupt. So we have to put those people out of business before we can officially get our ETF going. Of course, we want to get the ETF going. We want to be, in technology and innovation. So regulators, get in there and kick some ass, blah, 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 blah. So just be forewarned. Well, you just heard me talking about OBV. So also too, 23 is that accumulation year. So put those two together. Yeah, this looks like it's probably a pretty attractive idea. Obviously, the chart can't comment on the fundamentals at all. But would this be a name that I would feel comfortable accumulating here? If I did look at the fundamentals and I thought it was a decent project and they had a relatively positive future ahead of them, yeah, makes sense. This is a daily chart, weekly charts. We had our trending signal coming out of the end of last year and the beginning of this year. So, if anybody has learned anything about our seasonality, buy when it snows, sell when it goes. It's pretty typical what just happened there. Could you have gotten a double off here and get some free coins? That was 33, the double bottom breakout here. So if you had bought anywhere down in this area, that was the better part of $1. So you don't have any excuses. You should be in a risk-free trade now. Sell half on a double. Do you want to reload and go for a second car? Okay. Obviously, there's no guarantees in any of this. 8s and 9s, just as 8s and 9s, sort of where, be careful. Probably this up move is getting a little long in the tooth. 8s and 9s to the downside. You can make that argument. We're coming back down against previous lows. So trade location, not bad. Are we showing a bit of an exhaustion in the bearish price action? Looks like it. A little bit of divs forming here. Not enough to go like, holy shit, look at those divs. If anything, you'd almost want to see price punch down through these lows, but these indicators all not go through that low. RSI doesn't go through that low. Willie doesn't go through that low, although Willie does look a little suspect here. Volume. The sellers are not really that active. Looks to me like buyers are still relatively active. And as I had said there a moment ago, OBV just looks beautiful here. And that's exactly what you want to see out of OBV. So somebody is clearly accumulating the shit out of this thing. So little old ladies, you got the green light to accumulate. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Considering this is 23, we're not into the bull market yet. So could we still see some exploration against these lows, flush out some weak hands? Absolutely. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Could this be forming some sort of bottom to get us ready for the summer silly season? Yeah, it could be. Probably a little bit early. Whatever this rally was here, notice how long it took for this to ultimately bottom and then turn back up. we might have to go through a period here where we just sort of hum and haw, jawbone kind of idea. Is this actually an outright buy signal down here? No, there's no buy signals here yet. Do you have half decent trade location? Sure. I don't mind the trade location, especially when you get like 88.6 off entire range. Love that as a trade location. So as I said there a moment ago, little old ladies, I'm okay with that. If we drill down to a daily chart, do we have any kind of bullish momentum divergence here to maybe set up the bull? Well, you can see higher highs and higher lows. That all looks like it's ticking along here nicely. Did have Willie actually get stupidly oversold again through here? So that's not bad. So I'd say off of the dailies, you can see the W's. This would be sort of like your swing trader. I don't really have a problem with a buy of that W there and maybe risk to a break of that low there. Where is 2 to 1s? I guess shouldn't be a big surprise. 2 to 1 is going to be nothing more than just a revisit of the 200 SMA from the underside. I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually some sort of bottom, that actually this is like some sort of head and shoulders pattern that looks something along those lines. And just keep in mind the right-hand shoulder, sometimes these shoulders actually are very shallow. So it might look something along these lines. Using that low as the left shoulder, this as sort of your neckline revisit, then head. And as I think we pointed out, there is a bullish divergence that developed through there. So that's what we kind of want to see out of these divs, is that this low in the head. And actually, this is a little bit suspect because we're using this low here. Actually, this might be an interesting one. Today is Tuesday. We have our Stock Pickers Club tonight. I might ask David to interpret this. Maybe I'll even report how this looks in his eyes, Mr. Head and Shoulders Guru. It's not a stock, so hopefully he won't turn his nose up at this, but it might be interesting just to get his 2 cents of whether he sees any sort of inverted head and shoulders there working. But I don't mind if you're like, Brian, I love this story here. I love their product. I love that the insiders are long. I love the fact that they don't really have that many coins out. They've got a big project on the go. The fundamentals are sexy. I don't really mind actually buying that W there and risking to a break of this low. I don't really mind that. You should see in the short term that the moving averages, they actually have turned back up here. They should act as a bit of a support here. All the momentum indicators are all pointing higher. You'd like to see this momentum break out through the top there. So that top in the MACD histogram was 0084, and right now we're sitting 008. So you'd like to see, notice this was a shooting star here today. You'd like to see that end the day nice and firm, and that would confirm that momentum is heading higher. So, if we drill down on a 10-minute chart on something like this, if you're going to trade this thing, just understand where we've come from, right? So where the hell's the bottom on this thing? So there's the bottom. You want to sort of sharpshoot. You want to be like, hey, look at me, I'm a killer trader. And there's your trend line. I think that's the lowest low. It might not even be the lowest low. Let's see. We go 30-minute. Maybe there's even that's not even the lowest low. Oh, Brian, test. There's the lowest low. So there's your trend line. That means a pullback into here. Just a trend line support. It's a little scary about this one is we can do now a trend line off of here, whatever the lowest low is. Let's assume that this is the lowest low. I don't know if it is or not. We can do reload zones. And actually this makes sense, right? So Colin and all of his buddies, they're all going to be focused in on this area. And really what this is how does the market act against this low here? So does this low hold? And lo and behold, no pun intended, what do we have right down at the bottom here? And actually this chart's riddled with them, so be careful here, folks. Lots of unfinished business down here. Anyway, some nice juicy gap action there. Look how that gap actually lines nicely with the 30 SMA and that original trend line off of the bottom, eh? So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a date with this level here in the not too distant future. In fact, sloppier than slop, typical crypto mess, right? So they run the market up to new highs. Everybody's all rah bull, and then start the meltdown. So if Bitcoin's kind of weak and the stock market's kind of weak for the first couple of days of the quarter and stuff, that'll give the opportunity for this thing to come fill these in. So if you are Mr. Sharpshooter, well, you know how the logic of this goes. This would be sort of trend continuation. So what ideally I'd like to see is some sort of counter trend rally to set up some sort of market structure. If anything, you don't really want to see it go straight down and then start the counter trend rally. Because then if we lose this 38.2, then, oh boy, that's a massive structural fail level off a really important fib. But actually, I think if you're going to get into the prediction business, that's exactly what I think is going to happen here. And you could probably do something like candle body highs for trade location. Notice these gaps to the upside. So we probably need to fill those in at some point in the not too distant future. But wherever this ultimate low is, you can probably do a fib going back up top. And oh yeah, look at that, 38.2 to 50% would basically be that counter trend rally. So if this is the scenario, then, you know, Brian, what he wants to see for sort of trend continuation is we'd like to see down, then up, then down, then up, and give me 3 higher lows, 1, 2, 3, at least 33%, no more than 66. But if we do bottom off of this level around the 38.2, then 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows. And by definition, this would basically be your downtrend, something along those lines. So we've broken that, put a W in on the other side of trend lines, and you could think like trend continuation trade way over here. You can see, number one, the correction process is just getting started. We've left some gaps to the upside, unfinished business right at sort of calling dump chaser zones. So that really shouldn't surprise us. Interestingly enough, if this thing is normal, what we should see happen is reload zone counter trend rallies, which would actually paint short setups going the other way. 61.8, 78.6 candle body highs. That's where I'd ideally like a short. So if this actually is not setting up a bullish pattern, but is actually setting up a top, then I'd love to see something along those lines. Right, nice fail up in that area there. So there's really nothing trading wise for me to do here now. I either, if I'm a bull and I'm thinking trend continuation, I want to see a pullback into support and then start the process of consolidating, setting up the next bull leg. If I'm a bear and I'm thinking I want to short, then I want to let this short-term dump play itself out, see that counter trend rally, and then start hunting shorts against this trade location up here in earnest. That's basically what I see with your little name. So higher time frames doesn't look bad for nanny nibbles, you know, seasonal trade, heading into the summer silly season for crypto, all that kind of fun talk. If you are trading this, then those are your levels to pay attention to for trade setups.